buddy. As we get into this middle of the week live here, and we continue to see if this pattern can continue to trend and play out, we're still looking for that wave C continuation here and finish of this movement that, in my opinion, should bring us up near that $1.48 level if this plays out. However, it's not a guarantee that it'll play out the way that we assume. If we get up towards that $1.52 to $1.56, I do believe that's a strong institutional shorting area. So even if we were to get up there and had an overshoot of that $1.48, let's even say if we can even get there, that would be an area of concern that I'm not sure we could get past. As of right, to push over that $1.44 area. So that's going to be our immediate area that we look at this morning. But I am targeting right around that $1.48 for that wave C movement if we can do this appropriately. It's a big if, as we know. The markets are moving in a pretty traditional fashion. We've come up into that liquidity zone that we diagnosed yesterday for Bitcoin. And we'll see if we can play through it here today and try to have some upward momentum. I do appreciate everybody who continues to participate. Went through some figures and things like that. And the amount of people interested in crypto via social media, just by searches, by people watching, is the lowest levels it's been since the bull run of 2021 prior to it, when we had the significant drop off at the end of 2020. So it's quite interesting to see how many people have just basically threw in the towel when it comes to retail, which I'm not going to say I don't understand it, because I absolutely understand it. My content got removed last night. The second live we did, we must have touched on too much stuff. Got a notice, no strikes, but it did take down the live from last night, which is awesome. You know, an hour of work wasted, except for the people that were in there. So yeah, we'll stay on topic. We'll stay more on the charts, and we'll be more straightforward instead of more joking around, let's just say. So this morning, I want to touch on the fact about XRP, where the possibilities are this morning, what we would look at for invalidation zones, and everything in between. Good morning. 10:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So we'll look at this. We'll see what the most likely proposition or prognosis or diagnosis is for Bitcoin. We'll look to see what XRP has to do to continue to push up or to invalidate any further movement up. And basically, for me, if it comes below $1.40 and ultimately $1.39.5, this thesis will not play out all the way. The good news is we already hit that $1.44 section roughly. I think we came up just shy of it. What did we come up to? $1.43.50. So it didn't quite come up to $1.44, but it came pretty damn close. In the 4 hourly, if we're looking at it this morning, I mean, it's looking like crypto normally looks like shit in the morning. And we'll have to see if it can play out to any kind of real advantage of the top side. Seems like every time we start to get a little bit of movement, we get some, backlash here a little bit. We got some news coming out with Iran. Iran says they won't allow Trump to dictate when the war ends, and that's on the press TV. So, I mean, you get a whole bunch of back and forth nonsensical line nonsense when it comes to the investor markets. So how you navigate through it is completely up to you. This isn't going to be easy. This is going to be a lot of pain going into August of this year. And we're just looking for those small moments of swingable positioning. And there's a small moment to swing. We'll see if it can continue up to that $1.48. Unless invalidated, I'm still paying attention to that. I'm very aware that once you hit that $1.44 zone, which we came very close to, that we could run out of steam. That's the first uh-oh moment when we get up into that zone. And since we tap close to it in the Asian hours, or the Asia trading hours, when the U.S. was asleep, I mean, we've come pretty darn close. So now we have to see where the prospect lies. Make sure you hit that like button, as it will greatly help improve my chances of anybody seeing this content. I'm very much shadow banned. They only share my content at about a 1% clip, which is embarrassing. So basically what that means is if I have 50,000 people, they're going to show it to 500 of my audience. So, and it's pretty bad. And it's absolutely, that's what's happening. And it's been happening. It just becomes more and more noticeable as there's not newer people to come watch the content. Because as I stated, as far as it goes in the category, this is the least amount of interest shown in crypto since prior to the bull market in 2021. That's how little people are watching cryptocurrency out of the retail sector. So retail is basically thrown in the towel and said, I'm done with this shit. Until further notice. And their further notice will be they'll come back when it's in a big bull market, but they're going to miss out on all of this nonsense. And the thing is, you need to be a part of the nonsense because how else are you going to know where the actual buy zones are? I still think the number one area to look is sub 90 cents for a long-term bag. Once we get back down in that all-time cup and handle with the descending wedge, that is the primary objective of where we're going to want to attack this market. Anything now is a short swing trade at that, and it even becomes a little bit difficult with the way it's setting up here. A lot of people are going to look to short it, and there's a big short zone, but I can tell you for a fact that they might try to use everybody who's trying to short right now against them and come up into that area one more time. And the institutions, I don't believe on XRP are going to allow it to get past $1.52 to $1.56 area. I think that's a strong shorting area by the bigger players, and I just don't see them letting it get much farther past there. I'd love to see it come to $1.48 to finish off this wave C and give us an appropriate move into that $1.48 zone. But by coming close to $1.44, technically we've hit the first area that we could have to get a hardcore rejection. So we'll watch this as it develops today. A lot of eyes will be on Bitcoin. I know I'm going to get people who say, who cares about Bitcoin or who cares, blah, blah. I know, I get it. But this area right here, all the way up towards almost 75K is very important to me. We've come up here a couple of times. I think we could still have enough steam to come up a little bit higher, if I'm being honest. We have a nice shoulder, head, shoulder. If you just measure the base of this little inversion in the pattern, and it's not great. It's not a huge avenue to tap into. We have shoulder, head, shoulder, breakout, back test. If I was just looking at this objectively, I would probably look at it somewhere like this. I mean, well, even at the very least, we should be able to come up near 74. But with the way the markets are moving, it just takes one little liquidity flip until it turns it upside down. So that's why we watch that $1.40 and more particularly $1.39.5. If we're below that number at any time on XRP, it essentially invalidates the rest of this movement. Yes, we hit the lower end of the spectrum, but I would love to see this fill out into that $1.48 zone. It means more. It's an appropriate movement for what I'm seeing in a three-wave correction in the ABC format. And I think that would play it out just perfectly. But as we've said, there's that lower level at about $1.44 that could have stopped this in its tracks. And as of right now, a little bit stopped in its tracks. If we look at the XRP futures chart, I'm not going to look at the comments right now. I'll look at them in a little bit. I don't want to be encouraged or discouraged by, one, the amount of people that show up, or two, the way the comments are going. See, it can either be a positive or a negative, but I want to stay the even keel right now, that even mindset, and just watch this shit show play. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a family-friendly show. Watch this trap play out in real time. So we're on top of the symmetrical triangle right now. As long as it holds that $1.42, technically, like we talked about yesterday, we're still on top of this symmetrical triangle. But with the way the market's playing right now, a lot of traps being set. Inverted hammer looks like it's set up here in the 4-hourly on the CME chart, the futures chart for XRP. But that remains to be seen if we can continue to hold this. As we can see, we're slipping a little bit on the spot charts. No surprise here this morning as the U.S. wakes up, gets engaged and things like that. It's always the same exact routine, which is why a lot of people are just becoming bored of it. Let's just put it that way. People are becoming bored of crypto. They want to make a bunch of money, but they don't understand it. So they're going to ask the government for increased regulations, which is just going to cost you the chance of making wealth, which makes no sense to me. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some dummy that comes on here every single day for 5 years, but I have no clue, as most would say. But from a deeper perspective, it is what it is. It is what it is in this market. This market is not what it appears to be right now. Every small movement up is going to equate to a much larger move down. And that's the truth. So right now is a little bit tiresome for many. I'm not tired of it. I just get a little annoyed based on the retail's perception, because retail is begging for their own demise. And never in my, well, it's happened a lot actually in my life. I'm 42. But never did I think it would be possible with the state of the info we're in right now that so many people would just ignore the truth and ask for their own demise. Hey, I know it's an unregulated market and this is how the market moves better than the rest, but can you please regulate it and take control? Because you do such a great job, the government. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that retail would just beg for their own demise in a state of cryptocurrency. But yet, here I am, as sure as I sit here, everybody who bitched, pissed, and moaned when XRP was being taken on by the government, they're asking for those same players to take charge of the entire market now. Does that even make sense? No. But you know, you get what you get. So now we have to travel through a state of dysphoria with this market becoming more regulated by the day. More regulation by the day means lower prices, means less opportunity. It's just what it is. I mean, we can't make it up. So, you know, continue to tell me why we need the Clarity Act and continue to tell me why we want them to beat us over the head with our own portfolio. And I'll continue to tell you you're foolish. You're foolish. We're all foolish. Anybody who wants that is foolish. Not to be that guy, but I mean, I want to make gains here. I don't want to lose all my money, but it's looking that way. It's looking like for a long sustained period of time, we're not going to make anything. And we keep getting excited about these 5 to 7% moves that are coming after 15% drops. So, hey, it's great. We moved 5% over the last day and a half or 6%, but we came down from $1.60 to do it. So now we're not even close to $1.60 and we still got excited because of small movement. And here we are again in the morning watching it come right back down because the USA wakes up and it's a planned assault on retail. It's a true planned assault on retail. We all have the ability to learn, but to stay informed and engaged is a whole nother ballgame. So, you know, today's got to be more serious. I'm not going to yell. I'm just going to talk with you. I'm not talking at you. You're going to take the information or you're going to run away scared. I can't control that. All I can control is the information I give you. So I'm going to do my best to give you the proper information, but I do feel trapped in a sense because no matter where else I turn, it always ends up being the same disheveled nonsense. And then everybody comes in here and is, you know, off the rail basically. And then it's like having a kid that goes to one parent or the other, and the one parent's very professional, very, you know, etiquette. They show a lot of etiquette and integrity. And then you go to the other parent's house and they're scum. So then when your kids come back, so to say, you know, you have to rewash and re-brainwash and rework their mindset into that positive instead of just that negative, oh, it's never going to change moment. That's where we're at on crypto. Now we have to reteach, reemphasize, relearn, you know, and rework this entire system. And right now, the system is funny. The system was built pretty good when it was unregulated, but especially since 2021, it's turned into a big regulated mind-numbing you-know-what. And for anybody who really wants to make gains here, it becomes a little dejecting. It becomes a little bit like we're literally, we might as well just start digging our own graves in crypto. Once that Clarity Act is passed, notice they can't pass the Clarity Act because they had to pass another bill. And then they can't pass that bill because they got to make another bill. And then they can't pass the bill of the Clarity Act because they got to make a bill of the bill of the bill to make the Clarity Act pass. Every single time they rework that Clarity Act with another bill, you got less freedom. You know, it's targeting institutions, bankers, the market makers, institutional investors, so they can leech away retail's portfolio. You understand that with the Clarity Act. So I can't believe I still have to have this discussion almost halfway through 2026, where we still believe the Clarity Act is going to bring us these unfounded gains. It's a joke. We're all going to go broke because of it, unless we buy at the right time and sell at the top. It's the only way we can survive. There's no longer in the crypto market of let's buy here and hold on for 15 years. If you hold on for 15 years, you're going to get your ass kicked. It's just the way it goes. Ask the people from 2017 what's happened. I got some people tell me, hey, I bought XRP at 15 cents. I'm doing great. Are you? You've passed it by at 15 cents to $1.99, didn't sell. Oh, better yet, you went from 15 cents to $3.70 or 50 cents in 2017, didn't sell. Knowing you could have bought it back, and you could have bought it back at 28.5 cents. Or actually, you bought at 15 in 2017, watched it go all the way to 350, and then watched it come all the way back down to 10 cents. Then you watched it go all the way back up to $1.99 roughly, just to watch it come back to 28 cents. Then you watch it go from 370 all the way back down to $1.12. Is that really winning? Or is that holding on to unbelievable amounts of foretold wealth because you want to be a hodler? And all you're doing is funding the project when you do things like that. You're giving up your wealth. It's that simple. I don't want to give it away. I don't want you to give it away. We've got such a small window here, so you might be winning in the sense that you were at 15 cents instead of $1.41. But if you have 10,000 tokens, you've essentially given back about $50,000 or $60,000 over that time. Winning, right? You could have either had 5 times more holdings, or you could have $60,000 in the pocket and have the same amount of tokens. That's the difference. So yeah, you know, there's a bunch of different ways to look at it, but this isn't an investment. This is a risk asset. Risk assets are not made for investing. They're not. It's in the name, risk. It's a risk. To hold on to it for any sustained period of time from one market to the next and then rework it back into the bear, it's a risk. You're not combining yield. There's no dividends. You're not getting paid to hold it outside of if you get paid more than the last person wanted. You got to sell it in times of popularity. But that's why the short-term game very rarely works for most, because they buy, it goes up 10%, and they say, oh my God, I'm not going to miss out on the 50% move, and then it goes down 35%. Watch what happens, what's going to happen now. If we can make that move to $1.48, hopefully, we can sustain this until Friday. Watch what happens Friday night into the weekend. Especially if we play this out the way it needs to. Everybody's going to be bashing their heads through the wall again, and it happens religiously. But I'm only speaking of all this because it's the only way to maintain our gains. It really is. And I can tell the amount of people that are interested in crypto, they're running away. Even the ones who care are like, I'm not going to put up with this. Why would I invest in something when every single time I invest it goes down? Because you're not investing properly. You want to make it too easily. That's not the world of crypto we're in anymore. Crypto is not the same game we were playing in 21. It sure as hell ain't the same game as 2017 or 2013. It really isn't. So with that being said, I hope that sinks in. Most will leave, and that's okay, because we're pretenders instead of contenders most of the time. If you don't want to hear the truth, you're a pretender. If you don't want to know how it's set up, you're a pretender. But if you want to be positive and be a contender, you start looking at it in a different way. You go, okay, well, I understand we have this ABC corrective wave, but what are we building towards? Why would it come farther down? What exactly is going on? Well, we know we're in a long-term cup and handle, a very long-term cup and handle, where right now, on the short part, we're in a symmetrical triangle, which technically in the symmetrical triangle, if we didn't break down and came up, that would lead us into that area of the shorts, where they would almost guaranteed we'd hit that third tap of resistance around $1.54, $1.55, and they would short the crap out of it. In my opinion, that's probably what the institutions are going to do. Because they're already set up in that way. They know what's going on in the market. They know how this war is going to prosper and how it's not even close to ending. They know what's going on. We don't. We only get about 15% of the information. That's what we're privy to. 15% of all info coming in is what we're allowed to see in retail. Not a very good percentage, but it's enough to make a real educated decision. See, I'm not coming on here saying, oh, you're going to lose all your money today. No, what I'm saying is, if we look at this the wrong way other than a swing, we're going to lose a lot of money. Because then you end up becoming what's called the trap. You're the trap liquidity. That usually happens in between the ABC corrective wave and the institutional shorting spots. So that would be anywhere between $1.48 and $1.56 would be the worst spots to get trapped here if it comes up there. It's a big if because this market is trash right now. I've never felt so great about the long-term prospects for this move and so mind-numbingly just not worn out, because the charts will never wear me out. It's the people. You know, it's the emotions that come in and out. And to be honest with you, getting land-based every single day kind of wears on you a little bit. But you have to wear it as a badge of honor, because if you're not getting made fun of or getting insulted, you're not doing something right, apparently, as I've been told. But anyhow, getting past that, now that you've heard the actual message of the morning, how many people survived the message? I don't even know how many people are in here. 77, that's better than I thought. I think 580 people seen my live from yesterday, which is pretty embarrassing that that's all it was. Although there was a second live that got taken down, so I'm sure that had something to do with why they didn't push my content. But yeah, it's at 0.6%. It was recommended at 0.6% in the last live before it got taken down, and the one before that was 0.9%. So even my recommendations are going down. So I'm either doing something extremely bad, or I'm saying stuff they don't want anybody to hear because they don't want anybody to be in the proper parts of the market. I'll let you be the judge of that. But I'm at my all-time lowest views since, I don't even know when, to be honest with you. I'm not even sure how long it's been since I had this few views. Now the shorts are still getting anywhere between 1, 2, 3,000 views every single day, but it's the lives where all the information is at. You know, it's where all the information is at, where we're just kind of getting shortchanged. At least I am. Maybe it's just me. Maybe people are just sick of it. They're sick of being in here every single day and, you know, getting the same information over and over. I get that. But, you know, you can't change the information until the information changes. We got to continue to be very aggressive. You know, we just got to stay in the moment. And right now, I still think we have that opportunity to come up to the higher zone. But the moment the symmetrical triangle breaks underneath, and that's about $1.34, now all of a sudden we're going to start to hunt down this next support structure around 99 cents to $1. And then ultimately, I'm looking for this target down here on the long-term cup and handle, sitting at that 85 cent, 86 cent area, which could go all the way through August, which could pull us into that mid 50 cent range. Now, what would I prefer to happen? I honestly don't care which one of those two targets it hits. I just hope everybody's not out of their portfolio by then and has lost too much. The other thing I see is, despite my warnings about high leverage, everybody just clamors to get into that 25, 30x, even in my own community, which I don't understand why. Like, if you're shorting this market and you're at 25x right now, you better be damn sure we're not coming up to that final wave C target. I'm just saying, like, you could get yourself caught in a real bad spot here today if we got that upward momentum. Now, you might be dead on the ball and you might have opened the short at the right time, but 25, 30, 35, 50, that's a lot of leverage. That doesn't take for much more than a 3.5% market movement at best to get liquidated. It's actually a scary proposition. But, you know, with the way the market is, I can understand just shorting it and riding it down at high leverage, because this market's shit. It just is what it is. This market's trash right now, and we just have to deal with it. It's a good thing for the long-term prospector. I'll give us that. The long-term prospecting is actually good. We have a great long-term prospector. You know, with the let's see. Even Garlinghouse stated only a few cryptos will survive. Yeah. A few will survive. The problem is, I don't even think 5% of retail is going to make it through this, if I'm being honest. I think about 2% of retail, it'll probably be 98% will be underwater by the time we get to where we're going, because we have the let's just buy everywhere and just wait until it gets to the bottom. That's not a good approach. Like, we're not holding on for dear life. You understand that, right? By buying and holding it anywhere, that doesn't make you a hero. That makes you part of the 95% that's actually getting bombarded. You know, we're not meant to take the ride to the bottom zone. We're supposed to buy the bottom, sell the top, and miss the middle. That's what we're supposed to do as retail. What they have controlled us to do is hodl, buy anywhere, buy no matter what the price is, the same amount, no matter what, and just ride it to the bottom. That's what they've conditioned us to believe. And that's unfortunately why 95% of retail is getting lambasted. That's also why 86.6% of the total supply of XRP that's in circulation is underwater. Listen to that. 86.6% of XRP tokens that are available to the circulating public, notice I didn't say the dark pools or off exchanges, is underwater. That means out of 50, what is it right now? 54, 55 billion tokens, or circulating supplies up to 61.34 billion right now. 86% of those 61.3 billion tokens are red. That's crazy. That's insane. You know, that's a lot. You know, so it's very hard to not be underwater. Do the charts help? I think they do. I think they help predict the news. But if we don't pay attention to what we're seeing, does it really matter? If we're not watching it every day, does it actually matter? No, it actually doesn't. That's the problem. You can have a chart, but if you're not looking at it, what does it matter? You can have a great ability, but if you don't work and hone it, what does it really matter? How are you going to keep that ability? You're going to lose it. You got to stay sharp. We got to stay sharp. But that's neither here nor there. That's just kind of what's on my mind right now, especially reading through the interest. Started doing some analysis. Reading through the interest of people interested in crypto, seeing that it's at a lower level than it was before the bull market of 21 is pretty crazy. That tells you everything you need to know. And the problem is most of these people, a lot of people, even if they're not watching it, they bought and just turned their portfolio off. That's not a good idea. Because then when you turn it back on and it's down 70%, I can guarantee you're not going to pull into more funds. And plus, when you pull into your funds you have that could be saved, now you got to go to work and work more. You know, and with the way things are going, I'm not sure you want to do that either. Dan, I'm not sure exactly what it was that I talked about yesterday. I know I talked about too much. I was being too friendly. And that incited a little bit of conversation that I figured would get my content banned. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Sometimes you got to speak the truth regardless. Cannabis Podcast says, thanks for being in Town Center for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Very trusted mod says, by watching the charts, I learned they front run real world events, not the other way around. That's why the charts are important to keep an eye on. That's exactly my point. I've been talking about that since 2021 and basically getting laughed at for saying that by many. But that's the truth. The charts predict the news. It's not the other way around. Because all the big players know the trading algorithms, it's convenient timing when like Trump comes out and talks. But how often does it line up where we're expecting a move down or a move up and then they'll talk to be the essential voice? Then now all of retail, because they're dumb. I'm sorry, but we are. That's why we are what we are. That's why we are so manipulated. I mean, they've even got us begging for regulation in an unregulated market. Can you believe that? Like, that's the biggest disgrace to me, or the biggest disturbance that I feel in crypto right now, is the fact that we came into this market because we didn't want the government overreach. How many of you came into it because of that? You wanted an unregulated market. That's why you came into this market, and now we're begging them to regulate a market. I mean, have we not learned anything from the stock market, commodities, precious metals, oil, Forex, mutual funds, and all those other markets with the EFT? Have we not learned anything? You know, so it's a little demoralizing, actually, to know that my fellow peers are begging for their own demise, and that means I would be included with it. We are included with these bad decisions and bad understanding of markets. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of that. That's why price is manipulated through news. News was 2 weeks behind when I was a kid. No, I think it's the opposite way around. The news is manipulated by the price movement. That's how they interject what they're going to say. But I see what you're saying, through price and then 2 weeks behind in the news. I guess I get that, amused. I get that. But anyhow, let's get into the charts. We've already talked about the disheveledness in the market. So right now, this is basically your retest where we hit that neckline pretty nicely, actually, if I must say. I'm trying to see if we can get up to that $1.48 zone. Yeah, but guess what? With regulations by letting the banks buy, hold, and sell any way they want, even off of the dark pools and the secret exchanges you don't even know about, with the supercomputers, with the high frequency traders, that makes that legality easier. 85% of volume right now is fake, not founded. It's just on the order blocks on the dark pools that they just delete anyhow. The high frequency traders right now trade it back and forth to each other, but because of the way it's set up, without further regulation, they actually are kind of breaking the law. You just answered your own question of our demise. Yes, it lets them, but where's retail in all this discussion? Oh, retail will have to get microchipped just to trade a digital entity starting in 2029 if this goes through. Oh, you heard that. And we also will have to have a digital footprint. We will also have to be full KYC no matter what. And we'll have to trade on the exchanges they tell us to trade on, and we'll have to do it the way they say. It also creates another tax loophole where they will raise the amount of taxes you have to pay, because now they'll say we're covering the digital footprint. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of noise in there that nobody wants to talk about. But yeah, sure. It'll be easier for institutions, banks, and all the etc. But remember, the banks, the institutions, they're all nonsensical players. They don't help us. That's the illusion. You'd think the institutions are trading off of our exchange. They're not. It's called a dark pool for a reason. They are not even trading with us. They're considered high frequency traders, the HFT. HFT. They don't even make the trades, the institutions and banks. They have supercomputers off site that actually do this for them. Now, if you want to know more about that, join the classes. I simply don't have the time, nor the patience, nor the support to spend that much time on the lives doing that kind of stuff. But I do in the classes, and phase 3 is all about that aspect. Today we start phase 4. The real market movers. The real market movers. Between liquidity and this, you guys are going to see something awesome today in the class. 99% of New York Stock Exchange is off the exchange. It's 100% correct. And do you know why? They regulated it to a fashion where that's completely legal on the stock market. It's been put in by regulation. It wasn't always that way. But that's exactly what we're doing with crypto. Cannabis Podcast says it's just like them. And the great answer I'm used. That's one. I'm so proud of you for knowing that, actually. The Cannabis Podcast says it's just like them forcing you to have insurance. You must have insurance provided by these specific businesses, and if you don't, you're not allowed to do certain things like absolutely. Well, I'm not allowed to drive anyhow because my site doesn't meet the standard anymore. The last time I was accepted for my driver's license was 2018, and I'll never forget it. They told me you have to be able to see out of your left eye, and you have to close your right eye, otherwise we can't give you your license. I said, well, I can't see out of my left eye. That sounds pretty dumb to me. And so then they're like, well, is there any way? So I said, all right, let me see it through my right eye again. So I memorized the first 2 lines, and that's how I got my driver's license. Come 2022, they wouldn't even do it. So, I had to come to the realization after I drove without a license for a year that I just can't drive anymore. I can't see good enough for our standard laws. Even though you're allowed to see out of one eye, you have to meet a certain threshold in the other eye, which I clearly don't meet because I can't see anything but a blur. So they continued to microcosmically pass laws. In the micro, they're small little amendments to the rules. That's what they're doing to crypto until eventually retail is out to pasture. So I keep saying, I said it when I started in 21, our time of opportunities until 28. I didn't know how they were going to put in these regulations, but I knew they were going to. It's in the framework. Polygon made it 100% apparent to me when they were Matic. The Poly ID, that's how they infiltrated and put in the digital ID. And we invested in it. We invested in our own demise, as we often do, because you know what? That dollar means more than our freedom to most. Absolutely. If it wasn't for insurance, you would never need insurance. Much wasted money. Sure is. They say there's no pre-existing conditions. Well, I can't even get insurance because of my pre-existing condition. So You know, I love when everybody, including my parents, say, oh, well, they don't talk about pre-existing conditions anymore, don't they? They just make it so unaffordable and unattainium you can't afford it. I'd rather just put the $1,500 a month into the bank, and then when we get to that, I'll just file bankruptcy if anything ever happens. I know it's a big mess we deal with. So with crypto right now, what are we looking at? That $1.42 level is the or dollar. I like that $1.42 first layer. If it did have to come all the way back down here, you could, I assume, bounce off at $1.38, but you're not going to want to come back down there again. This is essentially where we don't want to come down any farther. Little neckline here in real time. And that's just, hey, we want to stay above that as we're going. And you can see a little X there, but preferably what we'd want to do is break out here to that $1.48. I want to see us come up into here. I want to see how we react into this small little zone of a gap. I would almost dare say a little fair value gap within there, but I'm not a genius, so, you know. Let's see. Actually, do you have any thoughts on DCG is doing specifically with Teo or the GTAO? Not right now, honestly, but I can make my knowledge a little bit stronger if I answer that in the future. Not now, I don't. I just think everything's kind of going in the same direction. It's going to end up being a control point. It's honestly a scary proposition what we're dealing with. And notice I'm choosing my words wisely today. No swearing, except for maybe the first minute on accident. Not talking about too much of the outgoing stuff, besides the fact that we're in trouble. In crypto. Big trouble. This in the 4-hourly could be a reversal candle to start the day. If we don't want this to end up playing out as a reversal, we really want to stay on the top side of this candle body. Otherwise, if we continue to sink down here, it's going to be a bad proposition and a reversal to start the day, which could bring us down to maybe that $1.40.5 if it wants to come down there and tap it. We're running out of time. If we get to Friday and we haven't made the move, we probably won't make the move. I'm surprised they don't try to sell your body parts after you go. The insurance companies, I mean, I'm pretty sure they do, unfortunately. But I don't want to get into that. I'll lose this content again. And I put in too much work to have all this crap deleted. Although if only 500 people are watching, that means only the people that come in the live themselves are actually getting this information. So I guess it doesn't matter if they delete it or not, because no one's watching the content anyhow. That's one way to look at it. That's a positive approach. Nobody missed anything anyhow because they weren't going to watch it anyhow. Let's see. We're hanging around these same areas. Let's see if we can get to 11 o'clock without falling out. You know, that's probably going to be the mesh point, is that get through this 10:40 to 11 o'clock area right now as we're still in the time of dishevelment. Let's see. How's XDC looking this morning? Up 1.17%. I mean, it still has it set up for that movement, micro movement up to 3.27. That's where this seems to have it set up to if it wants to come up there. Everything's got a setup here where it could come up 4 to 5% still. That's what we're waiting for. That's exactly what we're waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for. Or if it falls out and loses that $1.39.5 first area, $1.42, which we are clearly below. Although the futures market hasn't given that away yet. That's at about $1.42, but the futures is still not giving that back yet, but still early. Still early. It's still early. H bar up 1.07%. Couldn't even get up to this liquidity box as of yet. This is where I was thinking that first area, 9.7, maybe up to 9.8. But it really hasn't shown any strength here. We have that inverse pattern set up that it should, it could, but the question is, will it? I still think unless it breaks down, there's a chance, but the farther and the closer we get to Friday, the worse. We know XRP has got an escrow dump in 7 days again. So it's we're getting to that point of no return here, and we're running out of time for this movement. Amuse Ranger says, gotta go, everyone. Smash that like. Have a great day. You have a great day, too. I hope it's filled with prosperity. I hope it's filled with prosperity. I really do. And sometimes we just got to be blank. We just got to be point blank. This is what we're dealing with. This is why certain things are bad. This is why we can never seem to have a good outcome. And until we get out of the bear market, we just have to continue to look farther down. You know, we just have to continue to look at the continuation of the bear market with these moments of opportunity. And I still think this opportunity isn't gone yet. Nice shoulder, head, shoulder. And I still expect this to run up into this box. How far up it can get into, that's a good question. Up in the pink zone is where you have higher liquidity amounts on the heat liquidation map. So that's on Bitcoin. And I believe that there's untapped areas there as well that we could tap into. But there's a lot of there's a lot of liquidity in the heat liquidation map there. For Bitcoin, that's that. Now, we do have two different charts on Bitcoin for a reason that we kind of look at. We are still on the outside of this little breakout, ever so slight breakout. And then I still want to see if it can maybe come a little bit higher and tap into that rejection point on the breakdown as well. What did that say? XDC daily bearish, but the weekly is bullish mid-range. Very different than Doge. Yeah, oh yeah. XDC is kind of running its own framework right now, if you want to call it that, against the rest of the market. It's quite unique, actually. It's pretty unique what's happening. What's Ethereum doing today? Up 1.1% or 24 bucks. It's still that same standard operating procedure here. For Ethereum, let's just say we came up a little bit higher and didn't get into that red box. Let's see. What you would see here, this little micro level. Shit, we're almost there. Hold on. Something like that. If it gets beaten up, this is where you'd be looking at to get into there and tap it. Somewhere in there where it came down, never really came back up towards those areas. And that would be a great opportunity to, if it gets rejected, to short that part of it. I mean, I've done Tile. It's not a blind chart. I've already done the chart. Talked about this move up, in fact. We even put the resistance over the top where we thought it could come in a further pattern. So it's doing what we think. What we talked about was when it started, well, it didn't break out of this as of when we first started talking. But this resistance up here, could it get to 447? Or would it get locked down right about here at 394? So I think, no, you're fine. I just wanted to let you know that it's not a blind chart because I've actually studied it. So I don't want you to think I'm some hero coming on here and just being able to do this in the moment. I've actually studied the chart. I just need to study the mechanics a little bit better when it comes to it, to be honest. But I think this could also be, you know, kind of like an indicator of what could be coming. XRP usually moves last when it moves. I fully expect the rest of the market to do something similar to this as it broke out of its little, although this is more of like an ascending triangle as we talked about. You have flat resistance, higher lows. That's a bullish continuation. This looks more like a ascending triangle formation, which is a good continuation pattern. Now, whether or not it can get over the top, because it's in a much larger almost a symmetrical triangle, or could you call it a descending triangle? It's kind of tricky with the way that this little support here and here is. But at least in this short-term consolidation, that was a bullish consolidation, ascending triangle. So it could come up to 428. It definitely could. It actually definitely could. Juan been watching FET. Interesting. And thanks for being in town for over 2 years at the XP589 Moon Badge. I appreciate that support. And Algo, thanks for being in town during the second month with the Dusty's Autos Crypto News. We went up 30%. Yeah, I mean, it's had a nice little movement here. This was one of them that I called for a bigger movement when it was formed that little or the ascending triangle. Even out of the ascending triangle, yeah, about 30%. Remember we talked about this just a couple days ago. I was trying to show it for Mr. Stott. April Fools, yeah, my least favorite day on YouTube. I don't do any April Fools nonsense. I've seen a lot of people who should rightfully be sued because we're dealing with portfolios. So the last thing you want to do is mislead people and say April Fools. I think that's just cheesy and unprofessional personally. But hey, my integrity is not the same as somebody else's. But I just know when you're dealing with finance and your actual money, you never do April Fool's nonsense. Retail is so sporadic that you tell them a lie. They're gonna. What if I came on and I said XRP is gonna go up 75% today? Buy now. And then at the end of the day, I say, oh, by the way, April Fools. That's my least favorite day of the year. No, I get what you're saying, Ledger. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about my personal belief of it. The Oscar release being on April 1st, though, is quite interesting. It means we're going to get a lot of disheveled nonsense come out from the mainstream, actually. SHX is up 4% on the day. Nice little W reversal. With the way the pattern's set up, you could see it possibly coming up to the top here. It's about 5.2 cents, maybe, or 0052-ish. Mom's lab results are improving off insulin and blood pressure meds, all with diet. Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen to that bright future freedom as we continue to ask our Lord and Savior for that guiding hand. That's incredible news. That's incredible news. ZBCN. Honestly, nice shoulder, head to a shoulder. Bounced off the liquidity box like it needed to after it pushed back over. Nice correction. Could be getting ready for a little bit of movement. Honestly, depending on how the rest of the market moves, I think ZBCN could be getting ready for a small amount of movement here. We'll see if it can play out. Obviously, this would be invalidated, that thought process, if and when it would come back below 222. I don't like prop trading. It adds too many variables of liquidity. It might not be a bad idea for newer traders. I don't like props being traded. And that's not just in crypto. It's in general, because just like in sports betting, they start to define the game based on the direction of the retail bettors to best liquidate them. That's why they separate it between retail and smart money, like public betting versus smart money. Smart money would be like the institutional trader. And then just retail. So I think the props add another line of liquidity we don't want to the downside for the most part. I don't hate it, Kat. I don't hate it. I got to read through your whole question, though. Your thoughts on prop trading: good for newbies, discipline, low risk on funds, makes individuals take profits, use stop loss. The buddy used one and learned a lot. Passing evaluation is tricky. From that aspect, I don't hate it, actually. And thanks for being in Tom's Iron for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, Kat. That is awesome. Oh, speaking of Kat, since you're in here, I want to show the chart you sent me. Brilliant. Brilliant chart. And I like it because you were showing confluency in that level as well that we were talking about. Where the hell is it at? Why isn't it popping up? I'll just do it like this. Couldn't load image. What? The image got deleted now? What the hell? Let me look at my phone. I literally was looking at it and talking back with you yesterday, but that's crazy. See what they do? You get good information and they keep you from being able to see it. Where's my phone? Image couldn't be loaded. Let me go grab my phone. This is a great chart. I don't know why I would say not available or not loadable. Works fine on my phone. What? That's fine. I'll just save it. I'll just share it back to the email. How stupid is that? Isn't that crazy, cat? It won't let me look at it on my tablet, but it works fine on my phone. That's fine. I just sent it back to myself. Yeah, there we go. So Kat sent me this, and it makes a lot of sense to me. ABC correction up, and then it would be the second start of the second wave down. Makes a lot of sense to me. That $1.48. I was actually really happy to see that confluency that you sent me, because that's the area I've been looking at. Understanding that it might be hard to get past $1.44, but that's the exact area I've been looking at. This $1.48, and that's the 0.5 fib. What was that? Hey, Deeksy, welcome in, and thanks for being in town. Only 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Volatile over 1 year. Ledger technical target around $1.70. We could hit $1.70, but I think that would be quite difficult. I think it's going to be very difficult to get over that 0.618 area, or over the top of that around 152, or possibly all the way to 156. I see a lot of shorting that's going to happen by the institutions in that area. Arrived late, have you discussed almost already? If you have, I'll start from the... Wait a minute, what? Almost. I'm considering buying now, but it looks like it may go lower. I'll look at the charts again. It's tough right now, Smackimation. It's very tough, because I still believe that it can come up to that $1.48 level. But we technically already hit towards that $1.44, so to get past there is going to be a little tricky. Oh, XLM. No, we'll go into XLM right after this, Botodamus. But I do like what Kat put on here, with that $1.48 being the end of the wave C exhaustion and starting wave 2 down. That's what I'm still looking at overall, is that movement to that area. I'm just so glad she sent it in that exact spot, because it's been on my mind, that exact spot. I've been sharing it. And I see a lot of confluency there, especially with she's brilliant on the charts. I think she's undervalued in the community. I put her right up there with MQ and Nick and those few select ones. Great information. Been around for a long time too. Got to watch this bull market. That we were in, and now bear market again. But great chart. This is brilliant. And that is a small liquidity box in there that we could come tap into. God, it feels so right to come up there. That's why I keep telling the shorts to be careful right now, because that area absolutely can play out. I'm going to keep that up so we can revisit it. Now, can we get there is the other question. The morning started out looking not so great. But it always happens around this time. This is standard operating procedure in the morning settings. The Dow right now is up about 395 points. The S&P's up 57. NASDAQ's up 285. So that's some pretty big movement there. I think everything's holding serve so far, if it's going to get a continuation. Man, I would just love to see that area. Right now, however, we've started off pretty bearish, but This could turn into a hammer in the 2 hourly, so let's see how it closes out in an hour. But we're going to want to start coming back up here towards the candle body of the last candle, which would have to be over about $1.4215. So you slide too far and it's going to change, you know, the short-term narrative. But yeah, we're in a tricky spot here, Spackamation, because I still think it has that chance. It's just the way we're progressing right now in this morning session. It is showing a small bit of bearishness to start the morning as we've come down from $1.43.5 roughly. And it just is what it is at this point. XLM up 1.28% on the day. And it made a much better move than XRP did. If you merge this over, it came right to the perfect spot in this little box. That was our first hampering zone. So at least that came up there for XLM, what we put yesterday. XRP didn't give us that solitude right now. XLM did about a 5 to 6% better move than XRP. Still leaves me to believe that we still have a chance for XRP to finish this off. But yeah, XLM right now, it actually did exactly what I wanted it to do yesterday for today. And now we need to see if it can get above that first area. As of right now, it hasn't. Still has a decent candle put in. Daily's only about the midway point. So this is definitely the distress area. If we get past here, we'll come, no doubt to me, that we'll come into this box. Starts at 18.6, could get you all the way up to 20. 20 is more unlikely, but there is a zone there. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah, XLM has a much bigger percentage to get to all-time highs. You're right about that, Elmer. Much bigger percentage. We're nowhere even near all-time highs. I do think, though, if we break down, eventually we'll probably be seeing 9.9 cents for XLM. And that would be like if XRP got down to that 86 or extends down even into the mid-50s. But that's something going on. Kyle, my son's doing pretty good. He's in school for the second day now. He went back yesterday, had a good day. Last night he came home, slept good. He's been getting all of his feedings, all 24 ounces a day through his G-tube, and he started eating by mouth again more Monday night. He ate yesterday some by mouth. This morning he was eating some by mouth. He's been drinking water again, thankfully, the last 2 days. A lot of water, indeed, which is great. The roof, oh, it's a disaster. Disaster. Don't know how much it's going to cost me. Don't know how much insurance is going to cover. But it's going to break the bank, that's for sure. Yeah, oh yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Had the adjuster come out last week. But I also had the roofer out so that the adjuster couldn't do any funny business. So, we'll just see how it goes. Not much I can do with it. It's not good, though. Definitely not good. You know, depending on how bad it is, it'll depend on how much different kind of work I have to do. Hopefully, I can continue to do what I do here and continue to get the support, and the classes will evolve even more. But, you know, there's always that off chance that I'll have to go take another job. We'll see. Especially if bills become too big, you know, $25,000 upward you're looking at with the roof. If nothing's covered. If I was to repair the whole thing, you know, fix the whole roof because of the kind of roof it is and all that stuff. Nope, tree didn't hit the roof. Got a lot of wind damage. And then from whoever put the roof on, they did a piss poor job. I didn't own the house when it started. But it ended up causing water to leak through. And it basically rotted out some areas. So that's all going to have to be rebuilt. Made my roof cave in. The wind didn't help. The wind and storm damage. So yeah, it's going to be, it's a big issue. It's a big issue. Fortunately, the integrity of the house is fine, and 75% of the roof is in great condition. But that 25% that isn't, it's going to be a problem. So we'll see. I can't have a roof like that. I have to have what's considered a rubber roof because I have a flat roof, the way it's set up. So I can't even technically have a shingled roof. So, yeah, I have a unique roof, honestly. That's how they built this roof in 1954 or whatever it was. So I technically can't do a lot of the other things with roofs. This is in the daily time frame. But this movement, oh yeah, flat roof. Yep, you're right. That's the most expensive roof you could possibly have. Yep, indeed, big bucks, big bucks, big bucks. 2 hourly looks pretty bearish for XLM if I'm being honest. Just for this, just for the way it's moving right now this morning. Everything's kind of looking, you know, not the greatest this morning, but we'll see. We'll see how this continues. Algo is up 1.25%, which I'm hopeful that the rest of the market will start to follow something like this trajectory. And then start pushing up. I don't know where that box went for XLM or Algo. Because we're getting closer to it. It's getting significantly overbought though in 2 and 3 and 4 hourly, which is probably going to be a problem soon. Let's see. I'm not exactly sure how many layers I have on my roof, to be honest. I'm not familiar with rubber roofs. I didn't even know they existed until I had this house. Well, I mean, I knew they existed, but I didn't know what they entailed. Let's put it that. That's a better way to say it. All I know on my roof is that you have to have like a, because I don't have an attic either in my house, but there's like a subfloor that they have to put in with wood, and it's a big mess. It's a big mess. No, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a rubber roof. It's got basically insulation that's on top of like a wood flooring deck. And then above that, it's got like a, it's not a tarp, but it's got, I don't know what the fuck they call it, that goes over the top of it. None of it's cheap. Let's put it that way. None of it's cheap. None of it's cheap. Very expensive. That's why I'm hopeful insurance will cover a majority of it. No, the rubber's over the top, but the membrane is made of wood. There's wood and aluminum, but mainly wood is the membrane is built out of. The rubber is basically over the top, where it slides off and the water slides down. But yeah, it's no fun. Let me tell you, it's no fun. I don't wish that on anybody, what we're going through here, but it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. Good thing is it's only money, currency. Nobody got hurt. Well, the pocketbook. Use torch down roofing. Interesting. Have to look more into that. I like the advice. I like the advice by everybody. Yeah, I don't have time to look at that right now. I've got to get going. I got to finish up my classes. Well, yeah, that's if the insurance company's involved, that's what they want to do. They want to cut out the one section, patch up all the rust that's no good. Because the majority of the roof is nice. You know, it's still in good condition. It's just, it needs to be repaired, and they need to do a proper job putting the sealant and stuff on. So that's probably how it's going to end up going, Homer, because the roof should still have 10 to 15 years of shelf life left. It's only 9 years old, which is the worst part about it. Oh, that sucks, Crypto Cooter. Of course they would drop it. I don't know. I'm still going through the insurance process. Not very many people work on flat roofs, so I had to get a certain company out that is actually pretty well received in my area. Because most companies won't touch the flat roof, if I'm being honest. For flat roofs, use torch down. I'm going to have to remember that. I'm going to remember that. Torch down. I like that. Yeah, I'm not going to know for... Yeah, it'll probably take a couple weeks before I hear something from the adjuster to get some kind of baseline. Isn't it incredible how these markets seem to do the same thing at the same time of the day? Every single one. I just fixed my flat roof a few months ago and it was, yep. Oh, trust me, I get that. Look at the short term. Looks like a reversal on the 4 hourly. You know, this isn't looking great. Looking like shit. This market. Storm damage and improper installation before I bought the house. It's been happening for years apparently, which we didn't know about until that storm damage. Basically, the wind, it ripped up parts of the roof, which is completely replaceable under my policy. And then under the supplemental side, they have to go into like water damage and all that wood rot because it was leaking for a while, apparently. Even though I had inspections and stuff, the inspectors are fucking idiots. So they don't know anything. Basically, the experts are the big dopes. Yeah, this doesn't look good at all. We'll see. See how this plays out, but it's not looking great this morning. But I gotta get going, everybody. I got stuff to do. I gotta make sure my class is properly prepared. I put a lot of effort into that. If you want to know more about that, join the classes. That's the best I can tell you. A lot more than what you're gonna learn in here because I teach it from a charting perspective in here. You're gonna get to the charts in the class, but we're in the 4th phase right now. It takes a lot. But yeah, MQ, unfortunately, a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Had the adjuster out last week on Thursday, and you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. A couple houses down, a tree went through the neighbor's house, the roof. Down the road about a mile and a half, the gas station toppled over from the wind. So, I mean, there's a lot of claims that were taken out. Be nice to put some structure up there while they're working it, so can add a deck later if you want. Oh, I know. It would be pretty interesting to do something like that. Unfortunately, the bank's taking a big hit here this year, so, and last year repairing the inside of the house. Well over 6 figures to do all of this. It's going to turn out to be. And you want to throw taxes on top of it. It's a tough time right now. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's what we got today. I hope you enjoyed the live. Hope you got some information. I know the charts are bleeding, but unfortunately, that's the way it goes right now. They're not looking great. Not looking great at all. I'm still hopeful that we'll get that last layer up. Still hopeful we'll get that last layer up. But as we said yesterday, once it got closer to $1.44, there's no guarantee it's going to push past there, and we got close to there. Hopefully insurance does us right, but we'll see. I don't hold them in high regard, so I wouldn't be surprised if they fuck us over. But, you know, I got tricks up my sleeve to get different adjusters and things like that, so I'll find the right person that'll pay something. We'll find the right person. But, yeah, we'll do this again. We'll see what happens later. I don't know if I'll be able to come back later. It's all up to my son. But for anybody in the class, I'll see you guys in about 50 minutes. See you in about 50 minutes, everybody.